This meeting of the Administrative Regulation Review Subcommittee will come to order. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Rocky Adams. Senator Wilson.
Here.
Senator Yates.
Present.
Representative Bridges. Representative Gordon. Yes. Representative Marzian. Here. Representative Lewis.
Here.
And Chair West.
Here. We have a quorum. We are duly constituted to conduct business. First matter of business is approval of the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion for approval of the minutes? We have a motion and a second. Without objection is so ordered. Any announcements to come before the committee before we start? Seeing none, please call the first regulation.
Board of Pharmacy, 201 KAR 2480. This regulation has staff suggested amendments.
201-2480, as initially filed, amends requirements for pharmacies involved in remote prescription processing to revise two definitions, delete requirements that employees at telework sites are licensed or registered, and delete the requirement that interns and pharmacy technicians working under electronic supervision are supervised by a licensed pharmacist. The amended After Comments version amends sections 1 through 8 to make grammatical corrections, and the staff suggested amendment amends various sections to comply with KRS Chapter 13A.
Please state your name for the record.
Jessica Brown, General Counsel for the Board of Pharmacy.
Thank you so much. There is a staff amendment. Do we have a motion for approval of the staff amendment? We have a motion and a second. Without objection is so ordered. Any questions from members on this regulation pertaining to the Board of Pharmacy? Seeing none, please call the next regulation.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Board of Social Work, 201 KAR 23075.
201 KR 23075 amends to update definitions, add provisions for an extension to complete continuing education hours and for waivers for completing specified requirements, adds provisions for in-person learning courses or programs, add technology-mediated learning requirements, add conditions for undue hardship creating barriers for completing requirements, add telehealth training requirements, require a sponsor to pay a $25 non-refundable application fee to add a course, and update material incorporated by reference. The amended After Comments version amended Section 2.9 to delete the requirement that telehealth training course be completed every 6 years. Amends Section 5.8 to clarify that the sponsor of a continuing education program shall be responsible for providing documentation directly to the licensee, and amends Section 9.2 to make a technical correction.
Would you please state your name for the record?
Mark Kelly, Executive Director.
Hank Cecil, Chair of the Kentucky Board of Social Work.
Mark Bringelman, Contract Counsel.
Thank you so much. There are no amendments for this regulation. I understand you have a request, though.
We would like to defer.
Thank you so much. There is a request for a deferral by the agency.
I would make that motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please call the next regulation.
Board of Licensure for Occupational Therapy, 201 KAR 28240. This regulation has staff suggested amendments.
201 KR 28240 amends the Occupational Therapy Compact to add 4 new compact rules adopted on April 16, 2025. The staff suggested amendment amends various sections to comply with KRS Chapter 13A.
Would you please identify yourself for the record?
Hi, Lily Coiner, Board Counsel.
Could you make sure that green light's on?
Lily Coiner, Board Counsel for the Kentucky Board of Licensure for Occupational Therapy.
Thank you.
Jill Phelps, Chair of the Board for Kentucky Board of Licensure.
Thank you. There is a staff amendment. Is there a motion for approval of the staff amendment? Without objection, it is so ordered. Any questions from members of the committee for this regulation? Seeing none, please call the next regulation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board of Registration for Professional Geologists, 201 KAR 31010. This regulation has staff suggested amendments.
201 KR 31010 amends to increase fees for application from $150 to $225. biennial renewal from $175 to $250, late biennial renewal from $225 to $300, and reinstatement from $275 to $350, and allow the board through a supermajority vote to increase fees up to established thresholds on its own initiative if the increase is based on financial necessity, administrative costs, or other relevant factors deemed appropriate by the board, including thresholds of up to $325 for an application, $375 for biennial renewal, $400 for late biennial renewal, and $450 for reinstatement. The staff suggested amendment amends Section 1.2 and Section 3.1, 2, and 3 to delete the added language that grants the board discretion to further increase the fee up to a set maximum on its own initiative, and amends to delete Section 5 that requires a supermajority board vote at a public meeting to implement additional increases to comply with statutory authority and KRS Chapter 13A requirements.
Would you please state your name for the record?
Adrian Delvaya, counsel for the board. Adrian Delvaya, counsel for the board.
Bill Brab, chairman for the board.
Thank you so much. There is a staff amendment. Is there a motion for approval of the staff amendment? We have a motion and a second. Without objection, so ordered. Any questions for these gentlemen? Co-Chair Lewis.
Yes, I was just going to ask, when were these fees last adjusted?
About 2 years ago or so.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other?
I was just wondering the nature. Oh, I'm sorry, Chair.
Please proceed.
I was just wondering the nature of the reason for the fee increase, and is there staff changes, or why are we increasing again just after 2 years?
Let me handle it. Yeah, so we had increased fees 2 years ago, and we've had diminishing attendance or membership, as well as increasing costs from the oversight body, which is through DPL. And so we have increased fees and increased fees of cost to the board, but then also we have decreasing revenue from membership.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, please call the next regulation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board of Medical Imaging and Radiation Therapy, 201 KAR 46010 emergency and 46081 emergency.
201 KR 46010E amends to add a definition of bedside radiography and update the definition of limited radiographic procedures for consistency with House Bill 72 from the 2025 regular session. 201 KR 46010E amends to remove the employment prohibition of the limited X-ray machine operator, provide updated curricular standards for board-approved education programs, clarify scope of practice for the limited X-ray machine operator, and update material incorporated by reference for consistency with House Bill 72 from the 2025 regular session.
Would you please state your name for the record?
Elizabeth Morgan, Executive Director.
Thank you so much. There are no amendments to this regulation. Any questions, members? Seeing none, please call the next regulation. Thank you.
Board of Emergency Medical Services, 202 KAR 7501, 545, and 565. All regulations have staff suggested amendments.
202 KR 7501 amends provisions to remove unnecessary application requirements, allow unannounced random compliance audits, allow the sale of an agency that is subject to disciplinary action if prior approval is received from the board, allow medically necessary ambulance transportation within another service area when agencies within the service area have denied. Clarify and expand specific licensure exemptions applicable to out-of-state agencies licensed by and in good standing with another state, and make significant amendments to incorporated forms to reflect the electronic nature of the forms. 202 KR 7545 establishes and modifies license classifications of ambulance services, mobile integrated healthcare programs, and medical first response providers, and establishes related definitions and requirements. 202 KR 7565 updates the clinical pilot program application requirements a licensed agency is required to meet, and updates the incorporated application. The staff suggested amendments add links to the electronic forms and make technical corrections to comply with the drafting and formatting requirements of KRS Chapter 13A.
Would you please identify yourself for the record?
John Wood, outside counsel for the Board of EMS.
Eddie Sloan, Kentucky Board of EMS.
Thank you so much. There are staff amendments. Is there a motion for approval of the staff amendments? Without objection, it is so ordered. Any questions from members on this set of regulations from the Board of Emergency Medical Services? Seeing none, please call the next regulation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources, 301 KAR 2031, 3140, and 3160. 301 KAR 3140 and 3160 have staff suggested amendments.
301 KAR 2031 repeals 301 KAR 2030 because updated provisions are being moved to 301 KAR 3150. 301 KAR 3140 establishes restrictions on the use of aircraft and unmanned aircraft for the take of wildlife, and 301 KAR 3160 establishes reciprocal hunting and fishing license agreements between Kentucky and neighboring states. The staff amendments to these regulations amend various sections to comply with the drafting requirements of KRS Chapter 13A, make technical changes, and correct statutory citations.
Would you please state your name for the record?
Jenny Gilbert, Legislative Liaison.
Stephen Fields, attorney for the department.
Thank you so much. There are staff amendments. Is there a motion for approval of staff amendments? We have a motion and a second. Without objection, is so ordered. I guess, are there any questions from members? Co-Chair Lewis.
I always have questions for you all. So Jenny, you and I already talked about this, but just for members of the committee, on the take of wildlife with aircraft prohibited. When I first read it, I was wondering if we were getting helicopters and all that. But can you explain kind of what this regulation is dealing with the members of the committee?
This is, first of all, it's in response to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Code. So 16 U.S. Code 742 was put in place, and it just prohibited the use of drones for the take or harassment of wildlife. So we're just trying to comport with that U.S. code, first of all, but also we had complaints from hunters. And as you know, I mean, we have a lot of private land in Kentucky, which is a wonderful thing, but that means that the public land is limited to those hunters who want to hunt there. So when you have people who are coming and harassing or trying to take wildlife with the use of a drone, and it prohibits or inhibits someone else's activity on that land, then they come to us and want us to regulate that, which is also where this came from. So we are, I know you're shaking your head, but it does happen. So we are in agreement with the federal law, but also just trying to honor the hunters and the anglers who have come to us and kind of discuss some concerns on the public waterways and the public lands.
Good answer. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to laugh a little bit there. That's seems to be, that would be pretty redneck. Do a drone strike on your deer, but I can see the Facebook meme now. But anyway, I do understand you have a maybe a deferral request for a portion. If you want to proceed with that,
we would like to defer 301 KAR 2031 as well.
Okay. So there is a request for deferral by the agency on just specifically 301 KAR 002031. Do we have a motion?
I'd make that motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Without objection, so ordered. That particular regulation is deferred. Senator Wilson has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question about reciprocal agreements regarding fishing and hunting with neighboring states. Is this a brand new program that we're talking about here?
No, sir. There was a regulation in place, and several years ago, due to the sunset laws, that regulation expired, unbeknownst to any of the leadership that was at the department at the time right now. Law enforcement brought that to my attention in January of 2025, and we began to look into that a little more and just found that it didn't impact sunset when there were previous staff and leadership at the department. So we went about immediately trying to rectify that and looking into those agreements. Law enforcement, along with legal, had already been reviewing those because several of those reciprocal agreements with other states were more than a decade old, signed by previous leadership in both states that were no longer there or weren't familiar or maybe in agreement with some of the provisions that were in that MOA. So all of those have been updated with our bordering states. We even had waterfowl language in a fishing reciprocal agreement. So it was just about cleaning that up, organizing that a little bit better. The language that's now in this reg is similar to what was there before, but we just tried to be a lot more specific so that you could go to that exact agreement and see if I'm in Ohio, what is allowed right now, or if I'm across that water in the Ohio River. So it's not new. It is new in terms of how it's recorded, but it's not new to us. And just, in the spirit of transparency, we have had hunters and anglers asking about this and wondering what happened. It's just an unfortunate oversight from a lack of staff or staff changes and leadership changes, and we were not made aware until after the fact. So hopefully when you all approve it today, it'll get moving and then it'll be in effect.
So basically this is covering our border areas if we're hunting on the border areas.
Yes, sir.
That's what you're talking about.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Wilson spurred a question that I have. Go into, forgive my ignorance on this, but go into the fees. Does this affect the licensing fees?
This one particularly does not. So essentially, if you want to, if you have a fishing license, but you're on the water and somehow you drift into Ohio waters and you get stopped and checked, then your fishing agreement would work in Ohio. Your fishing license would work in Ohio under this agreement, and you would not be cited for not having a non-resident license in Ohio.
I know some of our members, reason for the question, some of our members have complained about the fees they have to pay, let's say in Illinois, to go hunting versus what the Illinois hunters pay here. Are you guys currently looking at that?
That is something that's been brought up. It's been mentioned to members of our commission. Obviously, the commission would have to consider that, and we would have to look at that. You will see, an argument on both sides of that, I guess you could say. So as far as hunting, this only applies to waterfowl hunting because that is what happens on the bordering waters. This does not have anything to do with non-resident hunting.
Thank you. Any other questions from members? Seeing none, please call the next regulation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Transportation Cabinet 601 KAR 23070 Emergency.
This emergency regulation establishes procedures for inspection, registration, operation, and compliance of street legal special purpose vehicles on designated public roadways.
Please state your name for the record.
John Johnson, Assistant General Counsel, Transportation Cabinet Office of Legal Services.
Thank you. There are no amendments to this particular regulation. Any questions from members? Seeing none, please call the next regulation. Thank you.
Department of Education 702 KAR 7065, 704 KAR 4010, 8030, 8050, and 8080. 702 7065, 704 4010, 8030, and 8080 have staff suggested amendments.
702 KAR 7065 is being amended to update policies and make changes to materials incorporated by reference for compliance with recent legislation. 704 KAR 4010 is being amended to conform to current statutory and regulatory language and requirements. 8030 is being amended to conform to current statutory language and provide a new version of the Kentucky Academic Standards for Health Education. 8050 is being amended to conform to current statutory language and provide an updated version of the Kentucky Academic Standards for Physical Education. And 8080 is being amended to conform to statutory changes and incorporate by reference the revised Career Studies and Financial Literacy Standards. The staff amendments to these regulations amend various sections to comply with the drafting requirements of KRS Chapter 13A and make technical changes.
Would you please identify yourself for the record? If you could make sure that green light's on.
There we go. Corey Nichols, Department of Legal Services at the Department of Education.
I'm Julian Tackett, the Kentucky High School Athletic Association.
Chad Collins, General Counsel for the Kentucky High School Athletic Association.
It's got to be official.
Sarah Medley. I am the Policy Advisor for the Office of Teaching and Learning.
Lauren Graves, Policy Advisor in the Office of Career and Technical Education.
Thank you so much. There is a staff amendment. There are staff amendments. Is there a motion for approval of the staff amendments? We have a motion and a second. Without objection, it is so ordered. So I'll start out with questions. With the group of people that you brought today, I'm assuming maybe you want to tell us a little bit about what we're doing here, maybe?
Well, Senator West,
just
Chad,
a brief overview.
Sure. As it relates to 702 KR 7065, this is our annual review where we take the annual membership meeting that we have every year, as well as a board of control that review our regulation, our bylaws, and the various provisions that we operate on throughout the year. And as a result of that, last year's annual meeting, we had 2 bylaw changes that were fairly innocuous in scope, but and specifically, we looked at Bylaw 5, which is an academic requirement where if a student is failing to be on grade level, there were some provisions that allowed them to be reinstated after a certain period of time. What we've found is that with the diversity that's going on in the learning environment across the Commonwealth right now, we felt like this was best to allow a little bit more local control to our school districts to evaluate how they reinstate the players after they make sufficient academic progress to get back onto the field or onto the court, what have you. We found so far that this has been a very positively received item, and I think our schools are excited about it. The second one deals with some of our sport activities and making sure we clearly delineate when they can start and when they should finish. That's important because one of the main benefits of being a member of the association is we have a very robust catastrophic insurance program that protects these student athletes from any type of injury should that exceed their family plan, if you will. And so this protects those athletes. We've also had some other policy items that the Board of Controls looked at, sports medicine, looking at our heat injury and heat illness repair or return to play provisions, as well as some other Title IX. And we also have some statutory things that have happened in the past couple of sessions that we needed to also come up to speed on.
Thank you so much. Any questions from members? The one question that kind of jumped out at me, designation of agent to manage middle and high school interscholastic athletics. Could you go into that real quick, what you're doing there?
Well, annually, the statute that gives the department and the Board of Education basically everything in the common schools. Within that statute, within 156.070, there's a provision that they can designate an outside entity to do the athletics piece, and they have for a number of years, and that's what we do at the KHSA, is take care of that where they can focus on the academic side.
So this is not NIL related to in any form or fashion. Okay, that's what I was just thinking. I was hoping that wasn't that, but it sounds like it's not. Any other questions from members? Representative Frazier Gordon. The committee will stand at ease. Representative Frazier Gordon is going to have a question.
Thank you,
Please
gentlemen.
proceed.
I was looking at the athletic participation form, and under the on the application it says gender at birth, and so I just wanted to know if you could speak to that and how you're handling that and that type of thing.
Well, on that particular piece, the physician decides whether it's completed, whether it's not completed. That is the actual physical form is not a requirement, just the permission form is, and that is designed to comport with the laws that were passed here a couple of years ago.
Thank you for that comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions from members? Seeing none, please call the next regulation. Thank you.
Department of Workplace Standards, 803 KAR 2181, emergency, 2241, emergency, 2250, emergency, 2260, emergency, and 2404.
803 2181 through 2404, all emergencies. Update requirements to conform to federal standards and delete many Kentucky-specific requirements. Additionally, 2250 changes the discrimination complaint filing deadline from 120 days to 30 days from the date of the occurrence of an alleged discriminatory incident. Requires in the filing the date of the alleged discriminatory incident and allows, rather than mandates, investigation of a filed complaint. 2260 establishes procedures related to employers appealing to Franklin Circuit Court.
Would you please identify yourself for the record?
Good afternoon, Robin Maples, OSH Standards Specialist with the Department of Workplace Standards.
Good afternoon, Jason Hernandez, Deputy General Counsel for ELC.
Thank you so much. There are no amendments. Any questions from members on this set of regulations? Senator Yates.
Just simple, why the need for the change?
Well, House Bill 398, which was passed in the spring, went into effect June 27th, and therefore a lot of the changes affected some of these regs, and we had to comply. So in order to get in line with House Bill 398.
So House Bill 398, it mandates the time period specifically. Is that what that has been the change in here?
Specifically, which one are you?
Well, you did two, but first was a reduction in time, the time to report.
Yes, that comports with the federal requirements.
Okay, so
we had more time as a Kentucky state program, and now we're comporting with the federal requirements per House Bill 398.
Because the House Bill 398 brought us back down to the federal.
Yes, we meet the federal requirements now.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, please call the next regulation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cabinet for Health and Family Services, 900 KAR 5020, emergency, and 6075, emergency. 900 KAR 6075 has staff suggested amendments.
900 KR 5020E amends material incorporated by reference to define pediatric teaching hospital, allow the construction of a pediatric teaching hospital, and establish criteria for new acute care hospitals that are pediatric teaching hospitals. Establish that a pediatric teaching hospital shall not be considered a specialized hospital. Allow a Level 2 psychiatric residential treatment facility, PRTF, to have 4 Level 2 special care neonatal beds, and grant non-substantive review status to Certificate of Need applications submitted by acute care hospitals that wish to convert existing acute care beds to pediatric psychiatric beds at pediatric teaching hospitals. 900 KR 6075E amends provisions to grant non-substantive review status to the following types of Certificate of Need, CON, applications. Proposals for new pediatric teaching hospitals under specific circumstances, and proposals to establish a Level 2 program with 4 neonatal beds if the applicant is under common ownership and in the same area development district as an existing provider of Level 2 services. The amended after comments version amends Section 2.3 to restructure the sentence and make technical corrections. The staff suggested amendment amends Sections 2 and 3 for consistency with related statutes and to make technical corrections to comply with the drafting requirements of KRS Chapter 13A.
Thank you. Would you please identify yourself for the record?
Yeah, thank you all. My name is Wesley Duke. I'm the General Counsel for the Cabinet for Health and Family Services.
Thank you so much. There is a staff amendment. Is there a motion for approval of the staff amendment? Motion and a second. Without objection, so ordered. Any questions from members on this set of regulations? Senator Yates.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for being here today. Would you mind telling us a little bit why we need this regulation and give us a little bit of tout what's happening at our Norton's facility with pediatrics?
Sure. So we filed the E-regs that are here before the committee today. And of course, they were followed by ordinary regs, which made additional changes to the state health plan that were not part of the E's. So that's kind of procedurally why we're here. But today, obviously the big changes are related to the pediatric teaching hospital, the expansion that Norton wants to do. Obviously, I think that's it's a large project. It's necessary, and we filed with our emergency reg a lot of supporting information about pediatric care in Kentucky, about pediatric care in general, and shortages and the need. And once again, I think the project that Norton has envisioned just really supports the efforts to try to fill those gaps and expand pediatric care. The other change in regard to the neonatal beds and allowing the existing facilities to expand with the 4 beds, that's just part of the effort to access to care, better care, and once again to kind of have a robust system of care, especially when it comes to children.
Mr. Chair, if I may follow? And I think that's important too, and anybody watching, making sure they understand that not only are we putting in one of the very best hospitals as it relates to pediatrics for children, but also we're not getting rid of the hospital now either. They're continuing to expand so that we can be one of the best providers in the nation for our children. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I got a quick question. Refresh my memory. You may or may not know this. You probably do, but refresh my memory when it talks about pediatric psychiatric beds. Is that age cutoff like 17? 17 and under, is that a pediatric bed, I guess?
That is my understanding here today. I can't confirm that, Senator. I will,
Okay.
but as I said here today, that's my understanding is that.
Got it. Any other questions from members? Seeing none, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you all.
That concludes September's agenda today. The next scheduled meeting will be Monday, October 13th. Does anyone have any problems specifically with that date at this time?
We would stay at the 1 p.m. time.
Sounds good. I see no takers, so we'll try to stick to 1 p.m. Seeing no further business to come before this committee is